Hey, it's Sydney, and today let's not talk about goal setting. Instead, I'd like to talk a bit about whether or not you should even be setting goals, if that's right or not for you, and then different things that tend to be more important than just setting a bunch of goals just because it's New Year's. So, a little story about goal setting. When I was in secondary school, my school was pretty advanced in a sense that they actually taught us a goal-setting methodology. They told us about all the kinds of different categories that we should have for our goals, and then we had to write everything out. We had this worksheet that we were supposed to fill in, and then there are different questions that you answer, and then at the end you come up with this diagram of your goals, all very fancy. And it never worked. None of those goals ever happened. And there are a number of reasons why. The general feeling of everyone participating, teacher and student alike, was, okay, let's just get this over with so we can get back to the real lessons, the real curriculum. With the worksheets we were given to fill in with all our goals, after you were done, you would have to pass it up to your teacher and there'd be some sharing among students. As a 14-year-old person, I didn't want to be sharing my deepest desires for my life with my classmates. No, thank you. Not to mention having to hand them in to a teacher. You can bet there were goals like gonna be studying really hard for XYZ class that teacher is gonna be teaching me. Oh yes, because please make a good impression, please. So those goals weren't genuine. They were things that I felt like I should write, or that I have to write. The acceptable thing to have as a goal, or the thing that I should work on, just because for whatever reason that's what's important. Not because I feel that it's important, but because the mysterious they would want me to have that goal. So if you're setting goals because you feel like you should do it, or you have to do it, or it's the right thing to do, it's what's expected of you, then just stop right there and forget about goal setting completely. It's going to be completely useless, because I think goal setting, or any kind of New Year's resolutions, or any kind of intentions that you're setting, whether it's now or any time throughout the year, goals should be an extension of what you truly feel you want out of life. They should be things that are truly interesting for you. It's about you bringing to your conscious mind the things that you unconsciously are already drawn towards and are interested in and are meaningful to you inherently, and that you want to explore, versus what most goal setting ends up being, which is a list of random things that only end up as a glorified guilt trip, where you feel bad when you haven't done anything and you haven't accomplished it. So if you're not feeling the goal setting right now, let's talk about some things that I think are more important to think about than a list of random goals. And if you think about these things, goals naturally are going to emerge for you, and then you can start going into how to make those things actually happen out in the physical world. So the three things that I'm going to start off with is you as a person. So that's who you are, what you want, and why you want it. Because first off, for who you are, that is your guiding force throughout life when you're doing anything, making choices and coming up with ideas, and how you treat other people and how you treat yourself. All of those things are under who you are. And when I say who you are, I don't mean writing down a list of values and things. I mean who you are tapping into a felt sense of your own presence and your own power and agency in your life. Then after that, when we start going more down the spectrum into what you want, this is when we can start talking about your personality and your character traits and the things that are most important for you to embody. I know for me, there are certain things like being a kind person, being a fun person, and keeping a level head, stuff like that. And then after that, when you start going into your wants, you can think about different things that you want to create, your creative output. That doesn't necessarily mean art and writing. Creative output can be the way you have conversations. That is you creating with your voice, and your creative output can include your work and basically any form of you making something that goes beyond yourself. What you want can also include the things that you want, where you want to live, and who you want in your life, the kinds of people that you want to be around, the experiences that you want to have, the things that you want to have, and the things that you want to learn. All that stuff is in the category of things that you want, and then you can just make like a huge list of stuff. And then after that comes why you want something, because there are different kinds of wants. First off, we have the things that we think we want because we should want them. Those are the ones where other people's expectations or your sense of society's expectations are the reason why you decide to say that you want a particular thing. Sometimes you can look at something you want, and if you just take a moment to really feel into whether or not you do, you might find that, oh hey, actually this isn't one of my wants. It's something that I've taken on from other people and other forces that aren't true to me. Those are the wants coming from outside, the should wants. Then you have your whims. So this is the things that aren't necessarily meaningful to you in the grand scheme of your life, but you just kind of feel like it in the moment. Whims include impulse buys, like if you went shopping and you just suddenly saw something and went, oh yeah, I suddenly want this now just because I saw it. They're the things that come up in moments but aren't things that are particularly meaningful for you long term. Yeah. And then finally, you have the wants that are meaningful to you and what you feel most drawn to just inherently. You just want it because you want it. It's important. It feels like. And even over time, it's still meaningful to you because there's just something about doing that or experiencing that or having that which calls to you. So then you can sort of sift through all these wants that you have and figure out why you want them. And that will help you discover what's truly meaningful for you. Yeah. Next part. Going into reviewing your life in the past year or so. For me, I did this over the past week using my old journals because I've been journaling for the past 2 years. And as I'm going through them, what I'm looking for is, first off, what's working. What things are stuff that I'm consistently thinking about or focusing on that are good. So those are different kinds of people, different experiences I'm having, things that I'm working on, and the kind of stuff that I'm bringing into my life, and what things are working, what things are good, positive, what achievements I've had over the past year, and then picking out the things that are the 80-20 of the good stuff. So the experiences that brought the most joy, happiness, good life feelings, stuff, that's what I'm looking at. And then after that, the second thing is what doesn't work. So looking at what things consistently cause the most problems, the most angst, the most just not feeling good about life and getting stuck stuff. Different experiences, different people, and then different things in life. And then the last thing is to take the 80-20 of both what worked and what didn't work, and then seeing how to incorporate that now, which is basically less of the stuff that doesn't work and more of the stuff that does work, and whether or not that can be fit into how I go about the next year and beyond. So now that you have who you are and evaluated your wants, and you've had your reflection over what you've been doing in the past and what works and doesn't work, then we can finally get into some planning. And frankly, there are a lot of good ways to plan. Here are some principles that you are going to want to keep in mind. First of all, for anything that you set up as a goal, break it down into teeny tiny little bite-sized bits. Even if it's something that you are intimidated by, and it's big enough that it scares you a little because you're not sure how you're going to do something, don't worry so much about thinking of the big end goal. Once you have it in place, then you can just use that to remind yourself about what's important and get excited about what you're doing if you ever need to. But for the most part, on a day-to-day basis, you're going to want to have little tiny things that you can do, because it's a bit difficult to think so far out into the future, and especially when you don't have the whole plan set up in front of you, especially when you can't have the whole plan set up in front of you because you really don't know how to get where you want to go, then you want to look for the smallest possible little thing that may move you towards where you want to go. And you want to do that as soon as possible so you can give yourself a little bit of momentum. Now you also want to look at what your problem areas could possibly be and what your strengths are going to be for your goal. So with every goal we have, there are going to be certain things that trip us up about getting there. So it may be that you really like to sleep in when you have the time. So that takes away time that you could be working on your goal. But maybe on the other hand, you like to stay up late and normally you're not really doing anything then. So that means that you could take the weakness of not being up in the morning and just do stuff at night. So you're looking at what strengths you have and what you can do to counter your weaknesses. So that's the second thing, is to just do a little bit of inventory over what's going to help you get to where you want to go and what possibly might get in your way, just so that when those things come up, you know that it's not as big a deal as it would be if it were a surprise to you. I'm sure you've had goals before where you've noticed certain things tripping you up and certain things helping you out. So that's important to look at. Another thing is the pace. And a good one to watch is, I did one on satisfaction. I did a video on satisfaction and dissatisfaction. And then I also did one on being in the moment. And those two things are important here when it comes to pace, because the pace that you're going to go at is going to be unexpected. Sometimes you might be able to just zoom right through and go faster than you thought you could. Other times you might find yourself stuck and you won't know particularly why. Maybe you're just having a down time. But it's important to remember that if you've done the previous things, you know who you are, you know what you want, and you've reflected on what you're doing, then the things that you're going for, the goals that you have, are going to be more meaningful. And it's important even when the pace you're going at is erratic or slow. Remember, even when you think that you just keep messing up, if it's really important to you, you can stick with it. And when you really want something to happen, make sure you protect the time that you need in order to make it happen, also known as scheduling. So that's it, really. That is what you can do that is as important as setting a bunch of goals. Make sure you know those things about yourself. You'll find that your goals become inspiring ways in which you bring things to your conscious awareness that are most important to you and that you want to bring out in your life. Have a good year. Have a good 2017. I will see you every single week. That's all. Thank you so much. If you want to subscribe, I will put a thing up here and then like a video below. Maybe, I think I talked about two videos in this one, and I will put the links for them here. Please leave a like, leave a comment, all that kind of stuff. Share it with your friends if you found it helpful, and I will see you in my next video. Okay, bye. Different goal setting information and New Year's related stuff, just everywhere.